came from Fairfield, Iowa, which is near Chicago in the United States. These guys, dressed in these uniforms, are
Troublemakers.
well, anyway,
With the others.
I guess they're the most modern incarnation of the US national video game team, which actually was history's first professional video game team in America back in the early 80s. We did a lot of interesting shenanigans that we wrote a lot about in our official video game pinball book of world records. I don't know if any of you read the story, but Billy Mitchell was part of that team, and early on Steve Sanders was part of that team. I guess I'll just start by introducing everybody. This is Steve Sanders, who's a very well-known joust and Donkey Kong contender. Tony Tipples, local. You're from where?
From Bristol.
Tony's from
Very
Bristol.
local.
It's just down the road.
Just down the road.
Just down the road. So Tony's from Bristol, and he's one of the he's a member of this growing group of UK video gamers who are beginning to take records away from American video game players.
Hey.
And that's part of the reason why these other guys dressed in these jumpsuits, no they're not jumpsuits, dressed in these uniforms, are here to do something about it, because there's this intent that UK is about to become a video game superpower, especially in the classic gaming field. So we're here to try and develop a serious level of playing between North America, which means Canada too, Canada and the United States. Don't think about Mexico, they don't play video games. I don't know what they do actually. And Billy Mitchell, the world's most famous video game player, the only video game player I've ever seen, but when we go to like New York City or in Times Square, people recognize him and how to come out of the crowd when we get photographed with him. Which is a tremendous bit of jealousy for the rest of us, of course, as we're just average mortals.
Especially him.
Yeah.
He just flat out tells the person he's jealous. He says, "Do you know me?" And they go, "No." He's wearing stripes, so they think he's a convict.
Doris Self is on the green poster. We have 5 posters. I'll show each one of these to you, okay? Doris Self in New Hampshire recently tried to reclaim her title as history's oldest video game champion. So Doris turns 80 in September. So in 2 months. So Doris is here. So we have this big proclamation we're going to sign here with the gold seal already on it, and the signature spaces, to crown her if she does her world record score here.
Go on, Doris.
Yes. So Doris, Doris, we know way back, she was a member of the Electronic Circus, which was the biggest consumer video game thing that was ever done back during what now is called the Golden Age. It was a circus with 500 arcade games, and they were going to have them in semi-tractor trailer trucks going from city to city until 40 different cities were visited. And she was on the staff. She was a circus performer back in 1983 at the age of 58. And even then, she was history's oldest, at that time, history's oldest video game champion. But a couple of years ago, someone at the age of 72 got a high score on depth charge. That person was passed on. But Doris is now here to get the Cuba record back so that she, at the age of 79, can become history's oldest video game champ again. And it's a great story. It's amazing how many places in the worldwide internet or in the worldwide media are reporting on Doris's attempt. All sorts of languages. They were talking Czechoslovakian, Australian, even in Hungarian, all sorts of languages. Indian, yeah, lots of stories in India on this. So Doris is a very big story, and we're really excited to have her as part of our team. The next person, Brian Koo. Oh, listen to this one. This is great. Brian was like an investment banker, a controller in Manhattan, a very important business thing. And he has retired from banking to become essentially like a professional video game player. So he now works at one of the most famous arcades in America, at Fun Spot. Nothing to mind me telling this to everybody. But Brian is a serious player, and he's like the #3 Donkey Kong player in the world. Like 844,000 points, which is simply incredible. Donald Hayes, he's also from New Hampshire. Donald Hayes is like the current marvel of the classic video game world, because he's the world champion on Centipede. You know how you play Centipede and how rough it is and how fast it gets? He can play centipede like that and keep those 6 shooters going for 9 hours? 9 hours. 7,100,000, he stopped on purpose. That's 7,111,111 points. He's also the world record holder on millipede. He's held Tron until just recently when another person, I think from Arizona, New Mexico, or Atlanta, I guess.
Yeah, that's from Florida.
Oh, he's Florida, okay. He took his Tron title away, but he still is the Domino Man World Champion, the Super Zaxxon. He just broke the Frogger record that stood for 23 years, 589,000 points. And the Dig Dug World Record, he's the champion. And what else?
Super Cobra.
The Super Cobra. So Don is a very rare breed of superstar who can handle lots of different kinds of genre and master them to the extent that what he does now today is better than anything that was done by those millions of people who were playing classic games back during what they call the Golden Age, when there were 80,000 Dig Dugs distributed and being played by millions of people. All their efforts don't equal to what Don has done all by himself now in this present era, so that's pretty amazing. Perry Rodgers came. Perry is a member of the US National Video Game Team way back in the early 80s. I met Perry over 20-some years ago. He was part of all our activities, traveling around and doing different events. But he came specifically because he didn't like the idea that the UK guy, Gary Whalen, a year ago, broke the Galaxies record. So Gary and Perry, or is it Perry and Gary? No, it's Gary and Perry. Not Gary. Okay, so it's Gary and Perry, not Perry and Gary. Okay, they're on this poster, and they were going to head-to-head playoff here, but Gary got sick this weekend, so he's not here. So we're all wishing the best for Gary. So it doesn't seem to be anything serious, but he did have to go to the hospital. Pardon me?
He got nauseous.
Got nauseous? Well, he also
At the competition.
No, Gary got sick, so he couldn't be here. So we're all wishing the best for him. So Perry is moving on and trying to see if he can break the world record in his solo attempts while this is going on. And Shawn Cram is the Zookeeper world record holder, and he's the Donkey Kong world record holder. And he's one of our referees. So he is Donkey Kong 3. I'm sorry, that's a big difference. So he's also one of our certified referees, so he can watch scores in the course of the weekend. And of course, he's going to be participating. These guys are participating in this classic gaming championship between, whoever shows up. Classic gaming championship. Rather, it's called Crowning the Classic Video Game Champions of Europe. And this is open to anybody. You play 5 games that are out there, I guess as many times as you can fit in the next few hours, and then we'll do a ranking based on your high scores. We'll crown a champion at 6 o'clock when we have our award ceremony. So essentially, classic gaming is becoming a very big deal. So much of a big deal that all these guys want to get together with all you guys, and we want to do this. And after I show you this, we're going to start talking. They're going to say things, and you can ask questions. But here, you might have seen this in the news. This went worldwide. This has turned into a very big media phenomenon. See the poster there? See the logo that says London versus Paris? Okay, want to hold that up? Right? London versus Paris. Here is the proclamation that a whole bunch of us, and anybody can go with us who wants to. We're going to get on the train. We're going to go to Paris on Monday. And we're just going to make them pay attention to us. We're going to go see newspapers or magazines, and it says, whereas England and France have perpetrated a 650-year-old tradition of rivalry and conflict, which has affected the course of history throughout all corners of the world, which is an understatement, because they had, since the 100 Years' War back in the 1330s, England and France have had 7 what we'll call world wars that were fought in all corners of the globe. From what was a part of the American Revolution in the 1770s. You guys remember that, don't you? 1770s. And then the Napoleonic Wars was the last one. It turns out that on Monday when we deliver this, it turns out to also be Napoleon's birthday. Like absolute coincidence. And I noticed it at the last moment as we were finishing the text for all this kind of stuff and sent it out. So it's very cool. So the whole idea is whereas England and France have done all this stuff, And whereas it is the responsibility of the youth of each new generation to take action to dispel the influences of stress, war, and disharmony created by earlier generations of mankind, and whereas the youth of England and France have shown themselves to be a dynamic generation who wish to transform the country's past traditions of conflict and rivalry by planting new seeds of friendship that will nourish the growth of brotherhood among these two nations, healing past wounds and reconciling differences. So it's placed on a high, noble, level that we're not just going to pick on them. We're also what we're really saying is, as video gamers, yeah, we are. As video gamers, what we're really doing is saying, war is obsolete. We propose that video games can make war obsolete, and we're going to take the peace. It says in here, going to take the peace initiative out of the hands of the government, and we're going to challenge France. And France and England will have a friendly competition on video games. So that's the whole, concept and energy of this thing. And down here at the bottom are all the signature places that you guys are going to start signing with us. Those who want to be part of the petition. And as we end this panel discussion, we'll have people come up and start signing this. A bunch of us who are part of the organization group are going to sign there. Now look, see, that's my picture on there. Wouldn't that make me more famous than him? I think it does, though.
No. He's mad. He's mad because he didn't get a bottle of champagne.
That's right. Whenever we fly in airplanes, I'd never seen this before. Airline stewardesses try to pick them up. I'd never seen that before. It doesn't happen to me.
That's not the funny part. The funny part is he gets jealous.
All right. So anyway, you see, we're all going to sign here. Okay. So don't anybody leave, because we will sign this before this is over. Okay. Now these guys got to start talking. I'm just going to say one more thing. Classic gaming is getting real big. Classic gaming events like this are not just happening out of the clear blue. It's really a big phenomenon. And the thing that's interesting is about everybody's eventually going to be a classic gamer. Because all those new games that are coming right now, that big herd of players that play the modern games, they forget their games within 3 months and move on to the next one. And what happens to all those games? They become part of the historical repertoire of gaming. In other words, eventually they're all classic. Everybody eventually is going to be a classic gamer. So you guys are just pioneers in the forefront of what's going to be a big phenomena that's going to pull in millions and millions of people. So we should be very thankful. And really, I think, Chris, are you here? Where's Chris? Anyway, let's give a big hand to Chris. Okay, so I've talked too much. These guys are stars, and they can answer questions about games. We just congratulated you, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
They can tell you things about games. Who wants to ask a question?
Chris and his wife.
Chris and his wife, Chris and Christine. So these guys have a lot of experience, because these guys have been in the front line of competitive classic gaming for now for 20-some years, and so they can answer questions about all sorts of things. So who would like to start off by asking a question? All right.
I want to ask Doris, is it true that gaming, retro gaming, keeps you looking so young and fresh?
It is.
Well, what Doris isn't sharing with you is, when I brought her her Q-Bert for her to regain her record, she had to promise me, see, she's a busy lady, she had to give up some of her vices. Daily, she plays bridge, poker, craps, Texas Hold'ems. She doesn't sit home at all. If she didn't have a TV, it wouldn't make a difference. But she has a Q-Bert right in her den, and every night, 3 in the morning or whenever she can't sleep, she comes out and plays. She's good for about 3 or 4 hours a day. Boy, no argument, huh?
Who thinks that they could be a champion? Who thinks that they're close on any game? Anything? Oh, okay. Well, is Nick? Are you in the room right now, Nick?
I think Nick's right.
Okay. So Nick, what's Nick's last name now? Huss. Hutt. That's a Hutt. Hutt. So Nick just broke the world record today in Space Hero. So you got a world champion here in the room who just broke a world record that's been held by an American for a long time, and now it's held by someone from the UK. So
also some more records being built on
Vectrex. And there's a lady here who brought her Vectrex machine, and Brian, one of our referees, is monitoring her scores, and she's breaking records. So you have Vectrex home console scores being made too.
Me, yeah. How they acknowledge the records. You say they're a record, but how do we know they're a record?
Oh, because
In
we
the
have
sense-
this long tradition of knowing what the space area records are already.
So how do I know what they are, though?
Oh, well, you go
How will I
on,
find
you
out?
go online to the Twin Galaxies website, which probably a lot of you already know, twingalaxies.com. We have a big database there of thousands of scores. Actually, our score database now dates back to, on pinball, almost the 30s, and on video games, to the getting towards the early 70s, because we're putting a lot of our raw data into the database. So we have a lot of stuff on a lot of games dating back quite a few years.
Gives that website the gravitas or shows that
Yeah,
acknowledgement.
there's an
is-
online database you can search. Just put in the name of the game and it'll tell you whatever you're looking for.
Let me answer that question.
Okay.
Going back to the 1980s, I forget the actual date, but the governor of Iowa got together with, March 17th of 1983, got together with a U.S. congressman, actually President Reagan sent some correspondence, and the presidents of Atari and Namco and Williams and basically all the big video game companies all recognized Twin Galaxies as the repository for high scores, and thus it's always been.
Right, okay, that answers the question. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. The world record holders, except for Tony there, seems to be, and Nick, are usually American or North American. Do you want to tell us what you think it is about the American character that is so many high scores to the part of the world?
Sounds like you have an opinion already.
No, I asked it yesterday, so.
Well, the answer the same as yesterday is, the truth is I've been to Japan, and the games in the arcades there are easier. They're set on an easier setting. It's more of a family atmosphere, and I mean, that's just the truth. It's probably a place that you go to that's supposed to be more fun. In the US and in Canada, the games are set much more difficult. Therefore, when you do get better, because you're pushing yourself to a higher level, you do get a lot better. And we always say that the US players are the best. The truth is that Canadian players are really good too. As a country that's only about a tenth of the population of the US, they shouldn't have more than 10% of the scores, but the fact is they do. So they are really good too. But the fact that we're competitive, the fact that, you know, we're even a little tougher and nasty about it, it's because of the environment of the game. It's not a family, it's not that there's not family fun, but they're not programmed for a family atmosphere. They're programmed for competition. And in Japan, the program's a little looser.
Hey, Kevin.
As the arcade industry now pays top players millions of dollars, do you think that's going to happen in the classic game sector?
Well, did you say the arcade industry is now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Golden Tee, golf.
Oh, that kind of thing. Oh,
Exactly.
well, that's actually beginning to happen, but I don't know all the details, but I know that the novelty golf kind of thing is now becoming, that's whole same kind of, what Kevin's talking about is the big networked kind of things. Like you see a lot of touch screens, especially in America, there's touch screen things with different kind of strategy games, but there's also the Golden Tee golf kind of thing. But that kind of a format is now spreading to horse racing games, to different kinds of shooting games, to different kind of driving games. I believe that there's a big one that just started by Global VR. That's I think it's Need for Speed Underground 2 is being done. Internet is sort of like that too. That'll give big prizes. So the arcade industry actually is going to have to go in that direction, as far as I can see, because nothing else is saving them right now. Because the arcade industry is in big monolithic locations. Like in America, they're called Dave & Buster's or GameWorks or Jillian's. Only real big amusement attraction kind of places can afford the cost of your modern game. See, I have a copy of Replay magazine and Playmeter magazine that comes from the US. We were looking at it last night. Some of these big games that they're coming out with now, the used prices that are there in the ads are $65,000 and $59,000. That's why there are no mom and pop arcades anymore. That's why in America it's only big places that are like major amusement attractions. So therefore the arcade industry's become very small. So the only way I think they're going to win is to go in that direction, Kevin, to have those big intraneted things that have big contest prices like those golf things that are so popular in America. and I don't know how popular they are in Europe, but that's really the only avenue I see them making an arcade a successful place, in my opinion.
They're very popular over here.
Oh, they are? Okay. Then everybody knows the format that we're talking about.
Well,
So,
if they're allowed in.
all right. Yeah, if they play golf. Do you play golf?
I know hobbies are sort of experts in games that, but is there like a holy grail at high scores that exists, that you all sort of acknowledge everyone?
Okay, good. Okay, what's the holy grail high score? In classic gaming, what are the, what would be the holy grail? What would be the top of the line?
What was called the Holy Grail?
Well, I guess there's always been a handful of games that the top player would respect the high score the most. I mean, it's always been like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, things like Centipede, and things like Donkey Kong. Unfortunately, all the games Billy Mitchell plays.
Well, Bill Mitchell was a fantastic player back in 1983. I mean, he skunked me on Donkey Kong way back when. But Bill called me in 97 or 98, and he said, you know, what will make me world famous is becoming, you know, perfect on Pac-Man. And it did. I mean, all people in this room might have known Billy Mitchell before 1999, I don't know, but everyone, we were in the airport on the way here, and people were saying, Billy Mitchell, on the airplane, Billy Mitchell. So, I think Pac-Man, perfect Pac-Man is the holy grail of...
Well, it's an easy choice because Pac-Man was awarded the game of the century. And when I'm standing there and I say to somebody, somebody will say, why did that person say hi to you? And I'll say, did you ever play a video game? I don't play video. Did you ever play a video game? Yeah, what'd you play? Pac-Man. I mean, it's the first answer. So it was an easy choice. It was an easy choice to choose that as a holy grail. And it was an easy choice. Well, it wasn't an easy feat. It was an easy choice to decide to go after it.
Question for Doris, it must have been asked already. When did you first get into video games?
22 years ago. 22 years ago.
With respect, were the people of your era playing those games, or just a few of you? Or?
Well, even then I was the oldest old lady in the yard.
I think it's great that you're doing it, because I've only seen a few pictures of some of the guys that we've seen online and stuff, web pages, and you see on videos and stuff, and there's some other people playing this Pac-Man machine, you know, all these films, and it just, wow, because typically it's all earmarked for young people, or people who are young, who now are reliving their youth through finding arcade machines again through jammer camps and dedicated camps. It's good to see. Great.
Yeah, it was. I always say that in 1983 we were a bunch of young punks, and you know, she was the rich old lady, and she was very good to us then, and that's why I called her, and that's why I told her I wanted to bring her Cubert, because maybe subconsciously your conscience turns a little, and you wonder what you can do for someone who had done for you. And so when I said to her, I said, here's the deal, I get you a machine and you play. You give up your vices. I said, and you have to get the world record, and you just don't give up until you get it. So she said, deal.
Great.
This is a question for probably all of you guys, is that you've obviously got your high scores in games that you like playing. Apart from those games, what other games do you like playing? Whether it be on arcade or whether it be home computer, what other games do you like?
Tell me about Fun Spot. How do you guys play all the games?
We have a lot of competitions at Fun Spot, not just
On what, sorry, what was that?
Fun Spot. At Fun Spot,
Oh,
the
Fun Spot.
arcade that we go to.
It's the world's second largest arcade.
Right.
It's got like 160 classic games.
Oh, right.
Which is
It's a good place. We have competitions. We have somebody that works at a chocolate factory, so that's kind of the prize. It's a bunch of chocolate.
Willy Wonka, is it?
Yeah. And well, we all compete. We all have fun.
But do you not, like, I'm not talking about competing, I'm just talking about just, you know, go home and switch your PlayStation or whatever and play a game. Oh yeah, I like to play that game. No competing, just...
Really, when I get home, I do my home stuff. When I go to the arcade,
Okay.
it's strictly, you You know, I don't want to do it too much and then not like it. You know how somebody overdoes
Yeah,
it
I
and it's
understand.
like, oh, this is too much. I don't want to get that way. I'd rather enjoy my time there and then I get to my other things. But I'm sure everybody's got their own opinion on how they do that. I personally have some games that I probably couldn't get the world record on, but the thing is, they're not my favorite games and they frustrate me
All right,
because
okay.
I get tired of playing them. So I'll put them away for a while and take them out later when I'm not so frustrated.
I've been involved in the industry quite a bit as both a player, and my motivation was to get into the industry to make games because I enjoyed them so much. So I've been a producer in the video game industry now for about 20 years, and I do take my work home with me. So I come home and I have my arcade games and it's set up in one room, and then I have my PlayStation 2 and my Xbox and those type of systems in another room, my office, and so. I find myself always being drawn back to my game room to play the classics because that's kind of what I was weaned on. But to play
Games such as what do you like?
Galaxies, Mario Brothers, Carnival, Space Invaders, those type of games. But I do play some of the platform games on the Xbox, and I'll recommend one, Psychonauts. I don't know if any of you have played that for Xbox. They're a very, very good game. So I enjoy a wide range of games, but you know, my time's limited too, so I'll often go back and just play the classics.
I generally play, like I said, I play games that I enjoy playing, like Shawn says. You know, and when I go to play, if I don't enjoy a game that much and I'm not interested in it, I basically won't play it. Even to this day, as far as home consoles, I think they're great, but they're not my type of thing. My idea when I was a kid, I wanted to go out, get out of the house. I wanted to get out, go somewhere, and do something else as opposed to stay home. So I have a Nintendo, the original one. That's actually the only home console game I have. I don't have a PlayStation 2, I don't have an Xbox. I do have MAME now, so I can play some of the classics that I've never played before, or hadn't played in a long time, and that FunSpot doesn't have it. I'm fortunate to live an hour away from FunSpot, so I can go there basically anytime I want. So, but I basically play games that I enjoy playing, and my problem is I'm somewhat competitive, as you can probably tell, so if I like a game and if I really like it, I'll end up going after the record on it. So.
I also find myself playing a lot of classic games, and when I have some extra time, I'm the kind of guy who will go into a classic arcade and try to play every game in the arcade. Not necessarily
Competitively.
Well, to a degree. I don't necessarily focus on the games where I'm a contender on the world record. I just really enjoy playing classic games, so that's, if I've got some extra time, that's usually what I choose to play as well.
Doris, do you have any other games apart from, was it Big Doug? Cubit, sorry.
Bridge and poker.
I thought you said you gave those up. Oh, crabs. I thought you said you gave those up. Devices, no devices.
I play every day of the week. Sometimes I'll play poker and bridge in one day, and then go play perhaps that night.
Is that how you make your fortune?
No.
He plays nickel poker, so on a bad
Oh,
day,
right.
good day, bad day is $20.
And how about you? What's your favourites, apart from the ones that you compete on?
Absolute hardcore coin-op games. I normally don't say to the media, but I don't like anything other than coin-op games. Recently, a movie crew doing a documentary was at my house and they're filming me, and they asked my 6-year-old son, they said, is your daddy the world's best video game player? And he said, well, he's the best Pac-Man player, but I beat him on all my games. So I guess I don't play him because my 6-year-old kid will beat me.
I'm another person with no time. I've got a family now, so I've made the mistake that you've all made, I'm sure. I've got far too many games in far too many boxes up in my loft, and I just don't have time to play them. So I kind of flip between the new one, some of you guys might be familiar with Jeff Minter, Tempest 3000, all that kind of thing. Like a bit of online stuff, a bit of Half-Life 2, Back 3, that sort of thing. But for me, it's time, which I just don't have.
I would just echo Bill. I'm an old classic upright arcade player. Only play games I like and got good at the ones that I like. And my kids can kill me on Xbox or PS2 or whatever. So.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, you know, with Nintendo Revolutions, which is going to basically be a massive emulator, do you think you guys are going to buy that and that's going to draw you away from the arcades a bit? Because you'll be able to play retro games with that.
So the question is will you play the same titles on an emulation console as opposed to the
The
arcade?
new Nintendo is going to be an emulator and you'll be able to get all the classic sales and games up until the present day.
Yeah.
And I was just asking, do you think that will draw you more away from the arcade than the Nintendo?
Well, for me, it's a matter of the controls. You know, I've got the Hot Rod joystick and also one of their competitors, and that's pretty good. When I can play an emulator that feels like the arcade game, I'm happy doing that. But if it doesn't have a pretty close feel to the arcade game, then I don't want to play it on an emulator.
Yeah, apparently they said that all their games will actually feel like you're on the actual console. That's what they said.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's one reason Xbox Live is I'm attracted to that. They're playing some of the classic games on Xbox Live because you can actually play against a worldwide audience on some of the classic games there. So Midway Classics, for instance, Bubbles, those type of games.
Yeah.
Hey, with the outside of name, it's kind of pushing, you know, the kind of retro game in the limelight, something that you haven't seen for years. So my question is kind of stores which are obtained through the name of the gaming company system, would they be kind of weighted one to one with, say, games from the kind of, you know, from the coin-ops themselves? Like, are we seeing like a real, you know, kind of real for real kind of gaming kind of experience in those, or do people prefer the kind of coin-ops, you know, kind of being have a fun spot? We don't have kind of fun spot for the places where I come from. So my own kind of experience now is kind of main. So I'm just kind of like I'm curious, do the guys feel that, you know, like in the coin-ops is the place where it's at, and, you know, kind of the scores from games from main are kind of less than weighted? Sorry, it's a convoluted question, I'm just wondering.
Well, first of all, we think MAME is a very great platform.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. We do not mix MAME scores with arcade scores. If someone is being declared the world champion on a game title, it is always invariably having been achieved on the arcade coin-op platform. So if someone gets Space Area Championship, we're talking about them doing it on coin-op. If someone does Space Area Championship, the high score on MAME, we say that's the MAME champion score. So they're never mixed, because even though things are getting emulated very closely, we find that the champions in each game who know those games the best say, oh, it's close, but there's always a subtle little difference between the emulation and the original game playing out on an arcade piece. So we don't mix them, we keep them separate. But we have tremendous respect for MAME, and we have a big MAME scoreboard on the Twin Galaxies website. You just go and search under MAME and you'll find scores for hundreds of games. Hundreds of games. So we accept MAME. People send in INP files through their email.
Walter, I know we were just about out of time, but you were going to make an announcement about a video that you've got with us to show.
Do we have the ability to show it? Okay, so it turns out, what's your name? Oh, Billy. It turns out that Billy Mitchell has supplied us with a videotape. That's the one you're talking about? And the videotape is of a performance on Donkey Kong. So,
Worth the watch. It's worth the watch.
It's worth the watch, yeah. So essentially, you know, you hear them talking about championship level play, but you actually have to see this being done to believe it, because the level of play, the level of difficulty is so profound and so demanding and so absolutely confronting and bewildering that you have to see Donkey Kong, which is the tape, being played on the level that Billy's playing it on this tape, which reaches the score. Shh. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. I'm sorry?
No. No. That's old news, old scores.
Okay, so anyway, there's going to be a tape, and it's going to be set up over near the decorated table where we have all the bottles.
This is a recent score.
No.
Well, we still have a few minutes if anybody wants to ask a question, Paul. Paul, or you first?
How many machines have you got worn out? I saw Doris, I saw her playing earlier. She's just like outrageous. Just like rude as if she wasn't. That's all.
Well, on that note, what we've often done, and I shouldn't say this because there's some people in here I should play the trick on, but everybody knows her. We'll be in an arcade, and instead of looking like one of us maniacs, she'll look like an old lady. We'll say to a kid, we'll say, listen, she's got 2 games over there, go ahead and play her doubles. And we've had kids go over and say, yeah, I'll play you doubles. And Doris will say, can I go first? Sure. She'll play. It was a sit down, and the kid's sitting here like this, and he's here. A half an hour later, she loses her guy, and then the kid plays and loses it in about a minute, and then she goes another half hour. The kid says, I think I've been had. Yeah, you've been had. We have a lot of fun with it.
Well, marathon game, I'll just say one thing, marathon games can be a gas. You know, we used to monitor back in the early 80s, people playing like Asteroids or Q-Bird or whatever for lots and lots of hours. And so Jay Kim is in his 40th hour or something.
Yeah.
Playing, what game was it?
Yeah, he's playing Q-Bird 40 hours. He had started playing in the arcade. The arcade closed. We stood there and watched him. It's in the morning. It's 11 o'clock in the morning now, and he's still playing the game. And a little girl comes up and puts her quarter up. She says, I got next game. Jay looks at me and he goes, she put her quarter on the machine. And I go, quarter on the machine? She goes, that's right, I'm next.
I don't think she had the microphone.
No, he went about 49 hours, but she was long gone. Did she leave the corner?
Yes, Paul.
Video games are often in the news having a bad influence on children. Most recently, Hillary Clinton has put
Who?
You've all played video games for thousands and thousands of hours. Have they corrupted you?
Whatever give you the other. Just got to be careful now that that kid died playing that game for a period of time.
Yeah, I saw that.
What's that? When was that?
Korea, a kid playing for, I think it was 40 hours straight.
49 hours in StarCraft.
Yeah. And died.
Of course, he had a pre-existing
How old was he? How old was he? Was he young?
We're still trying to get the details from Korea.
Okay.
I think
we
the
just had someone apply.
I think I saw the article. It said it wasn't actually a kid. He was actually in his 20s. I think it was someone in his 20s that actually was.
No, and he had a pre-existing condition.
The problem is that, getting news off the internet is worth every penny paid.
Paul wants to know if the games have corrupted us, and the answer is I think I speak for all of us when I say that we don't play the corruptible, contemptible games. They're out there, but we prefer to play just the good, clean, fun games.
Still shooting.
And devouring. I mean, aliens have no business being in our video games. That's why we shoot them. Aliens get shot. That's why they're aliens.
You take the most famous game like that.
I mean, Pac-Man is very...
Isn't Pac-Man about a little man running around eating
drugs,
taking drugs and pills?
That's right. But it's very funny.
Yeah, taking steroids.
Steroids, that's right.
I was in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. for 7 days, and Billy showed up there with me, and we worked on studying all this stuff because we had to finish the next edition of the Book of World Records. And we started finding all these old stories on Pac-Man when it first came out. And news reporters started interviewing women about why they like Pac-Man. And here's what's kept coming up again and again and again. The woman would say, oh, I love this game because I can eat all I want. And it's all about eating. It was just really interesting answers. I don't think guys were giving the same answers.
Okay, on that same note, you got to stand up and face that way. Look at this guy's shirt. Of course, that's what my screen looked like at the end of the perfect game. I've never seen that shirt before, so when I saw him, I sort of attacked him. I wanted to look at the shirt.
It's also got the perfect score on the screen.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm supposed to have a copyright on that photo, but I don't know what happened.
So there's a couple of things. One thing I want to do, when I get everybody's attention, is Rav here? He's not here.
No. Fixing game.
Archer, would I embarrass you if I made you stood up?
Yeah, I haven't got a corrected screen though.
Archer
It's
brought
properly loaded.
tons of games that are up there, and I want to make sure that everybody recognized that he did this. And also, I want you to not only see, there's so much devotion to this whole thing that's happening here. Not only is Archer and Rob, who I guess is not here, brought games, and all sorts of people brought things that they contributed. I did want to point out that these guys, you know, you have all those PC contests where 17-year-old kids are winning $50,000 purses. These guys came here at their own expense. There's no prize. They came here because, well, not only are they addicted to winning, but also they came here because they want to see this happen. They're here to do their part, to contribute to this energy about having this classic championship stuff start for England, so that you can be brought into the fold and become a bigger family, and we're just here to enrich this thing and make sure that as much attention is brought to the Classic Gaming Expo and to the possibility of future classic championships, because this is just the very beginning. You see how mellow and mild of a contest it is? There's only like 9 or 10 people competing, and more people are welcome to sign up. We've only got 2 more hours or 3 more hours to do it, but essentially they're here as a donation to this. So I wanted to make sure you guys realize that. Billy, show us the bottle. You brought bottles, didn't you?
Yeah, I do. They're at the table. You gotta, maybe you have it.
Who is the bottle? Oh, Kevin's got a bottle. Okay, I'm going to give these right back to you. Okay, see what these are all about? This is a Ricky's hot sauce bottle. Billy makes hot sauce.
That's my real job.
That's his real day job. He makes hot sauce, a hot sauce that's becoming famous. But for this event, he made a special label that says CGE UK. It's got Pac-Man on it, and it says, a quote from Billy says, "Work is for people who can't play video games." Signed Billy Mitchell. And is there just one flavor or numerous flavors? Well, there's 4 flavors, from habanero to chicken wing to jalapeno, cayenne, or whatever. And so we want to give some of these out as gifts. I guess Billy will determine the process of how this gets given out, but you'll have to tell him whether you like hot, sort of hot, really hot, or what's the 9/11 or something?
Yeah, the one that puts hair on your
But what's special about this is that each bottle actually is a limited edition, unique bottle. So this one here that Kevin has already is number 13 of 50. So maybe everybody doesn't end up with a bottle, but each one you have is actually a collectible bit of video game history, where this is bottle number 13 of 50. So we're going to be handing these out and actually having people write down their name and email address so we can stay in touch with them when we get back out to that area there. And there's also some pens, some writing pens that have numbers that match up. So when you get, like Kevin, when he got his bottle number 13, he got pin number 13. So I'm going to have people start signing the big certificate, the big petition. Anybody who wants to be bold enough to put their John Hancock on there, which was an American who just searched from Great Britain.
That's a great one.
Unless there's any more questions anybody wants to ask, because there's so much stuff that can be covered. There's so many funny stories we could be telling you.
Has any of you ever sort of in one of these long sort of endurance ones actually started to hallucinate things, or do you then go to sleep and dream the game?
Let me say one thing. He's asking about marathons.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have watched so many marathons that it addled me so much that I became the video game scorekeeper. Okay? It's supposed to be a joke, but I'm laughing. So, essentially, marathons are actually potentially hard on their health. So we don't hardly do them anymore. If someone wanted to do marathon, what we do is we make them fill out a form. They have to have a doctor. This is what we did with the last guy. We just did 52 hours and 10 minutes on Star Wars. But he had to fill out a form.
And he came up short.
He had to have a doctor's statement. And then he had to have what's called a DAF panel for low cutoffs on, what is it called? Low cutoffs on, I forget the expression, but there's an actual drug test he had to take, or we wouldn't even let him do it and consider accepting this thing, because we don't want to encourage people to take drugs, because marathons do make you hallucinate. That's the point. marathons can drive you pretty wild. And so we don't allow people, someone 17 years old has applied to do a marathon in Dance, Dance, Dance Revolution. Hey, can you imagine doing 50 hours of all this stuff? Well, listen, I mean, he could easily have injury. But I've decided that our official thing is we're not going to let him do it because he's a minor. Because,
Oh, you let me do a walk?
Huh? Those were different days. But essentially, he's a minor, and minors go through all sorts of developmental things that who knows what could happen to them if they're doing 50 hours of dancing on a video. So we don't encourage people to do marathons because they are real tough, and they could take a while to get over it. Maybe you don't get over it because we don't want to encourage people to have a lot of stress, and that's what would happen. Did you want to ask a question?
I was wondering if you used the
What was that?
You used the dance mic.
If I've used the dance mic, do I look like a guy who dances?
Yes.
No, I don't use the dance mic. I'm going to think about that. I'm planning to see it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Back in your book, these guys used to trash all the hotel rooms within about 3 seconds.
Oh, who's read the book? Hey,
who was the biggest troublemaker?
Okay, wait a minute. Who's read the story at the back of the Twin Galaxies Book of Records? Okay, there's 1, 2 people, 3 people. Okay, who believes the story at the back of the Twin Galaxies? Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be very frank. When we used to travel as the US National Video Game Team years ago, we go from place to place to place. The video game players that I was in charge of were like a rock band. It was just unbelievable. We got thrown out of so many hotels because of their behavior. And the person who was the worst, who caused the most stuff, who got me again and again in the most trouble, was, what's your name? Billy?
You can read what's in the book, but I can tell you the real story.
Yeah. Well, actually, when that story was published, the editors read it and said, this is crazy. No one's going to like this. No one's going to read this. So they took out almost 100 pages of stories.
Yeah, they got to go
like
back
the
in.
one, like the one about the quarter being put on the machine during the marathon. That story wasn't in there because they took it out. So we're going to.
The other one was, I don't drink.
Oh, that's too long of a story.
No. So then I get up there, and I'm in a nightclub, a bunch of friends there, and I put my game in, and the security guy comes up and says, "You got ID?" I'm a wise guy, I said, "I'm not drinking." He said, "I didn't ask you if you're drinking. Do you have your ID?" I said, "I didn't say I had my ID. I'm not drinking. I'm playing." He says, "Yeah." And I'm getting ready to play a game of Pac-Man. He looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, last game." I said, "No problem." About 6 hours later.
Oh, no, you got to tell the rest. Okay,
Okay, you tell the rest.
So the security guy comes in again after like 20 minutes and looks to see if he's still on this. And then finally he starts getting concerned because Billy's on his first man. Okay, it's like now an hour later. And the guy says, "I told you you only got one game." He says, "This is my only game." He says, "Well,
But
no."
then the employee started.
Yeah. Pardon?
The employee started
The
swimming.
employees started just sitting around watching because they were fascinated because he's doing all this grouping and playing advanced Pac-Man that in champion level can be played at. And so finally they're watching him. And
Then about 4 hours into it, I go to the guy, "Do me a favor, sit here. I got to go to the bathroom." So I went to the bathroom. So now the assistant security guy is sitting in the chair, like watching it for me, making sure nobody touches it. And the henchman's walking around or whatever. So then I come back out of the bathroom and he sees me and he spots me and he's like following behind me. And I come over there, I sit down, he gets up and I start playing again. He comes over and he starts yelling at his guy, "I told you that was his last game." And the guy says, "This is his last game." "Well, I said his first game is his last game." "His first game is his last game." He goes, "You're trying to tell me he's still on the same game?" He goes, "No, he's still on the same man." And he took that out of the book.
Because they thought it would be too strange of a story. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I wondered, when you're trying to beat a high score at the world record, do you feel like you're trying to beat the machine or like you're trying to beat the person who got the previous record? Do you see what I mean?
Me?
Anybody.
Well, it depends on the individual. Sometimes there's rivalries. But yeah, you do feel like everybody in the inner circle is staring at you, and usually they are. And some players play tremendously well under pressure. My arch rival in Pac-Man, Rick from Canada, he's somebody who cannot be intimidated. you know, under pressure. His buddy Neil, I just walk up and stare at him like this and his game's over. It works both ways.
Just you guys talk about that competitiveness now. I'm wondering, like, what's
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Where's your competitiveness? Is it actually against the game itself, or is it against the person you're trying to beat the score?
Precisely.
Where's the competitiveness?
A lot of it's both. Sometimes, yeah, there's certain players. Sometimes, if you have a, like Billy said, you have a friend that or a rival that you're playing against all the time, you want to try to better them and get better than what they are. At some point, though, it becomes a matter of you against the machine as well. In some games like Pac-Man, it's a matter of there's one highest score. That's what you have to go for. So, you know, in that kind of case, it's you against the machine.
I was always against the machine myself.
I didn't really know the players back in the 80s. They were all over the country, so they didn't know who you were really competing against necessarily for most games. So I was definitely against the score.
When Doris plays, she always has so much media attention on her. It's like her against the media. It really is.
Well, I'll tell you what, since it's 3:05, why don't we just do some signing here? And those of you who want to get back in there, I'll be back in there in a few minutes, and we can do some more score logging to find out who's going to be the champion. And then at 6 o'clock, we're going to come in here, come in here, we're going to give out some awards. And so that's the rest of the schedule for this.
Call up Chris.
Pardon? Is Chris and Christine here? Anyway, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So we're really going to put it to the French now. Video will be showing upstairs.
I'm stopping it now, it's alright.